Hello everyone, I'm here today with a flip-through video. This is the first half of my New York album from March 2023. This is the album I'm using. It's a life crafted album from Citrus Twist. So it will fit 3x8 and 4x8 mostly. Smaller for sure, larger, maybe. I don't really go larger unless I have a brochure or something that sticks out a little bit. Otherwise I kind of stick to putting in no larger than 4x8. This is my title page, and I didn't even have to do a whole lot here. Stamping, some letter stickers, a little splattering of ink. That's it. And I like it that way. And then I did a collage photo here. I used the Project Life app when I make these because I knew I had all these photos, but I really needed a single page layout. So how was I going to do that? Best way I could think of was to make a collage where these are even smaller than a 3x4 and they all fit. Then I'm not making, two layouts when I can do one. And then here I just wanted to be able to use some fun ephemera pieces and do something that basically matched. It didn't have to be perfect, but I wanted it to match for the most part. And the first major stop once I got there was to go to the New York Historical Society. So I flew in, I stopped in Moynihan real quick because I wanted to see it after it was totally done because I hadn't seen it yet. And then I hopped back on the train and I met my friend at the New York Historical Society. And we saw both the art exhibit that was there. It was all about New York. And they also had a Tiffany lamp exhibit, so those layouts are coming up. So here's the start of the lamps. And I originally had, I think, 5 double page layouts planned for all of these photos, and I really had to cut back because this thing, it's already gonna be big. It would have just been a monster had I done that. So I had to really talk myself out of it and pare down to what you see here. So I have this one. I love this vellum here. And then these are probably my favorite photos from the exhibit. So of course I wanted to showcase those, particularly this one. I love dragonflies. I even have a dragonfly tattoo. Actually, I have 2. And so anytime I can see them in any sort of art or design element, I'm probably going to like it. And then there's another photo. So look at that. I did really well. So I have these, that, and that. That's it. I didn't even use the rest of the photos. I'm very proud of myself. But I did want to journal about it. So I had to have one more that was a little smaller here in order to get that in there. And I'm kind of surprised that after all the times I've been to New York, this was the first time I had gone to the Historical Society. I think people kind of sleep on it. I think they tend to go to the bigger museums like the Met, of course, or the Guggenheim. But I don't think this gets as much love as it should. Once we were done there, we decided to go to the Morgan Library and Museum. I had seen it online, but had never been. Another one of those things where I've been to New York how many times and never went. And so I thought this time I'm going to go. And my friend also wanted to go, and it was free on Sundays from 3 to 5. And so we're like, oh, we could totally fit that in after we do our other thing. Let's run over there and do it. And we did, and I don't regret it for a second. So this one has a flip up. And pretty much every room is this gorgeous. The whole place is like that. Well, obviously, if you had enough money that you could have a private book collection like that, you can make your house as fancy as you want. So these are some of the ceilings in there. It's crazy. It feels like a European museum. I find it hard to believe that someone actually lived there because I can't imagine living like that. And here we are in what I consider to be the main library section. And you can see how wonderful it is. And so when it came to scrapping, I didn't want to do a whole lot that would take away from these photos. So just some simple phrases and embellishments like this. I did do sequins over here, but I tried to like not go crazy because the rest of this was quite ornate and beautiful. But I did put those in. And then I love this picture. I did a selfie with bug eyes because all of this was overwhelming, but in a good way, but still overwhelming. So it was just, I was like freaking out a little bit. And then I used my sticker that I got when I paid. That worked out nicely. And luckily my friend was kind enough to take a photo of me with all the lovely books. And then after that, we were going to Drunk Shakespeare, but we had enough time in between where we're like, well, let's just go downtown, get to the financial district, kind of figure out where this place is, and then we'll assess our time. Well, once we did all that, we still had like an hour and a half. And so we thought, oh, the Staten Island Ferry is right there. It'll be about an hour if we go over, immediately reboard, come back, and then walk to our venue. And so we thought, why not? So we did do that. Now, I've obviously done the ferry before, but it's always fun to cruise past the Statue of Liberty. I will say it was very windy this day, and it was quite cold on deck. We only made it about, I would say 3/4 of the way over. And then we're like, nope, we're done. We have to stay inside the rest of the time because it was just too cold. And then here, I didn't do a process video for this one. This was at Drunk Shakespeare. And again, I kept it very simple because I wanted to use, I have had these phrases from Tim Holtz for the longest time. They come in a flip kind of book with a spiral, and they're called Snarky. And they live up to the name. I wanted to use some of those on here because I thought they would be very fitting. And I'm super pleased with how all of this came out. And then, so that was the end of that night. The next day I got up and just walked up to the park area so that I could see the Empire State Building before I went on a couple blocks over to get on my train to Roosevelt Island. And I did take more pictures, but they looked very similar because I was shooting back at Manhattan. And so that part of the river line, I mean, it's nice and everything, but it was very much kind of the same angles and shots. Had I been able to walk the whole island, if I had time for that, it would have been different. So I chose to only put in these two. And you know what? That helps me. It helps me keep the album smaller, so it's all good. Then after that, I went up to meet my friend again, and she works at Columbia University. And so I said, I will come up and meet you. And then she took me around campus. So I got to see a lot of the buildings and learn some of the history, and that was very fun. So this is what the stop looked like where I got off. I believe it was 116th. Some of the buildings here. And then this was St. Paul's Chapel. And we did go in there because she said sometimes when she's like having a stressful day or whatever, she'll just go in there on her lunch because it's very quiet and very relaxing. So we did go in there. And this was part of the brochure. I just cut it into pieces for what I needed. And so this was one of the layouts they had. And it felt very scrappy to me, the way that they had it laid out. And I just used one of my own photos, and I had this card that I thought the colors worked perfectly. So I put that in there as well. This is still inside St. Paul's. You can see it's lovely. And I do think we were the only people in there, other than like employees who are taking care of the chapel. I think we were it. When I went downstairs to use the bathroom, I saw one other person. And then here we were back outside looking at some of the other buildings, and there's a flip up here. And I didn't do anything here because things were going on in these two areas. I didn't feel like I needed to do something up top as well, so I left those alone. And then these I did go back though. I thought I had it done, and I decided to go back and add all these hearts because it felt a little blank. So I started with this one, didn't feel like that was enough. Added this one. Then I thought, oh, I better have a visual triangle. So then I added that one. So it's a little bit different than what the process video showed, but not by much. We did also go to the Columbia bookstore. And when I was there, one of the things I picked up was this sticker, and I wanted to use it since I had it. And so I had a blank page anyway. And so I thought, oh, that works. I can just slap that on there, you know, like put the date on there, and it's good. I really don't need much else. And then we went to lunch at a nearby place very close to Columbia. It's called Dig, and very good. They do bowls, basically. You pick out what protein you want and some side items, put it all together with a sauce. They mix it for you, and it was quite good. And then after that, my friend had to go back to work, and so I was on my own the rest of the day. And St. John the Divine was very close to there, and I had it on my list on previous visits and still hadn't made it there. And I thought, well, if I'm this close, it's stupid not to go over there. So I did walk over, got some lovely shots of the exterior. This is a fun flip out. Just did a phrase label and some chipboard again, trying to keep it simple, not add a ton of bulk. And then on the back side is where it ends. So I haven't figured out yet what I'm going to put here. I printed a photo, but I'm not in love with it. I'd have to cut it down, and I think it might look weird. It might be too narrow. So I decided just to stop there. But this is good progress. It might be slightly less than halfway for what I think I might end up doing, but it's close. And I'm really pleased with the progress I've made so far, because it was really tough going in at the beginning. I was really struggling, like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. But now I've kind of gotten into a groove with it, and I think it's going better. So thanks for watching this flip through part 1, and I hope you'll stick around for part 2. Thanks for watching.